Imagine a country where ancient temples stand beneath glowing skyscrapers, where centuries-old traditions exist alongside some of the world's most advanced technology, where bullet trains race through the countryside while snow-covered mountains rise quietly beyond the windows, where peaceful bamboo forests can be found just hours from streets filled with millions of people. This is Japan, a country shaped by mountains, oceans, volcanoes, and 4 extraordinary seasons. In spring, cherry blossoms transform entire landscapes into shades of pink. In autumn, forests and temples glow with brilliant colors. And in winter, mountain villages disappear beneath layers of snow. But Japan's greatest beauty may not be found in any single place. It is found in the contrast. The ancient streets of Kyoto and the neon lights of Tokyo, the silence of a Zen garden and the energy of a crowded city, traditional wooden houses and futuristic technology, the past and the future. Here, they don't compete, they exist together. And as we travel from the legendary Mount Fuji to ancient temples, mountain villages, bustling cities, and tropical islands, we begin to discover why Japan feels less like a single destination and more like many different worlds living together. This is Japan. Seen from above, Japan looks like a world shaped by the ocean. Stretching across the western Pacific, this island nation is made up of thousands of islands, each with its own landscapes, traditions, and character. From the snowy mountains of the north to the warmer islands of the south, Japan changes dramatically as you travel across it. Mountains dominate much of the country, while narrow plains are home to its largest cities. Volcanoes have shaped the land for centuries. Rivers cut through forests and valleys, and long coastlines surround communities that have lived alongside the sea for generations. But perhaps what makes Japan so remarkable is how closely people live with this landscape. Cities rise between mountains and coastlines. Ancient villages remain surrounded by forests, and even in the middle of modern urban life, nature is never completely out of sight. From the air, the contrast becomes even clearer. Dense cities glow beneath the night sky, while vast forests and mountains stretch beyond them. Thousands of years of history have unfolded across these islands, and today, this extraordinary landscape is home to a country where nature, tradition, and modern life continue to exist side by side. This is Japan, an island nation shaped by the land and the sea. Rising above the landscape of central Japan is a mountain that has become a symbol of the entire country, Fuji. At more than 3,700 meters above sea level, Fuji is Japan's highest mountain and one of the most recognizable peaks in the world. Its almost perfect shape has inspired artists, poets, photographers, and travelers for centuries. But Fuji is more than a beautiful landscape. For generations, the mountain has held deep spiritual significance in Japanese culture. Its snow-covered summit has become an image closely connected with Japan itself. Around the mountain, the scenery changes with every season. In spring, cherry blossoms frame its distant silhouette. In summer, green forests surround its slopes. In autumn, the landscape turns golden and red. And in winter, snow transforms Fuji into the iconic image seen in photographs around the world. On clear mornings, the mountain can appear reflected across calm lakes, while clouds drift around its summit. Standing before Mount Fuji, it is easy to understand why this mountain has inspired so many generations. It is powerful, silent, and timeless, a natural monument that seems to connect Japan's past with its present. And for millions of people who visit Japan, seeing Mount Fuji in person is not simply seeing a mountain, it is seeing one of the defining symbols of Japan. From the quiet presence of Mount Fuji, our journey takes us toward a completely different side of Japan. The mountains begin to disappear, the landscape becomes denser, and suddenly a vast city rises before us, Tokyo. One of the world's great megacities, Tokyo is a place where millions of lives unfold every single day. From above, the city seems endless. Skyscrapers stretch toward the horizon. Roads and railways form a vast network beneath them. And when night arrives, Tokyo transforms into a sea of light. Neon signs illuminate the streets. Trains move through the city. Restaurants stay open late into the night, and crowds continue flowing through the streets. Perhaps nowhere captures this energy better than Shibuya Crossing. When the traffic lights change, hundreds of people begin moving in every direction, yet somehow the chaos feels organized. For a moment, it looks like the entire city is moving together. But Tokyo is not only about crowds and skyscrapers. Look beyond the main streets, and another side of the city begins to appear. Small restaurants tucked away in narrow alleys, quiet residential neighborhoods, traditional shrines surrounded by modern buildings, parks and gardens hidden between towers of concrete and glass. This is one of Tokyo's most fascinating qualities. The city is constantly changing, but it has never completely abandoned its past. In one neighborhood, you can watch a high-speed train pass beneath towering skyscrapers. A few minutes later, you can walk through a quiet temple surrounded by trees. And then there is Tokyo at night. Shinjuku comes alive with enormous screens and glowing signs. Narrow streets fill with restaurants, bars, and people. The city seems almost futuristic, but beneath all the technology is something much simpler: people. Millions of people working, traveling, eating, meeting friends, and going about their everyday lives. That is what makes Tokyo so extraordinary. It isn't simply a city of buildings, it is a city of movement, a city that rarely seems to pause. Yet somehow, in the middle of all this energy, you can still find moments of silence. And perhaps that is the secret of Tokyo. It has learned how to make the ancient and the modern, the quiet and the chaotic, exist within the same city. Tokyo never really stops. It simply changes rhythm, from morning to evening and deep into the night. Leaving behind the energy of Tokyo, our journey takes us to a city where time seems to move differently: Kyoto. For more than 1,000 years, Kyoto served as the imperial capital of Japan. And although the modern world has grown around it, the city has preserved a remarkable connection to its past. Here, narrow streets wind between traditional wooden houses, stone pathways lead toward ancient temples, and quiet gardens create peaceful spaces far from the noise of the modern city. Kyoto is home to hundreds of temples and shrines, each surrounded by its own atmosphere of history and tradition. In the early morning, the streets can be almost silent. Mist hangs over the gardens. Sunlight filters through the trees, and the sound of a distant temple bell can make the city feel centuries away from the present. Then there are the traditional neighborhoods, where wooden buildings, lanterns, and narrow alleyways create scenes that seem almost untouched by time. Kyoto is also famous for its changing seasons. Cherry blossoms fill the city with soft colors in spring. Summer brings deep green forests and vibrant festivals. Autumn transforms temple gardens into shades of red and gold. And winter covers rooftops and gardens in a quiet layer of snow. But perhaps Kyoto's greatest beauty is its sense of balance. Modern life continues here, but it doesn't completely overwhelm the old. Instead, the two exist together. A busy street can lead to a peaceful temple. A modern building can stand beside a centuries-old shrine. And behind the movement of everyday life, there is always a reminder of the Japan that came before. Kyoto is not simply a place to visit. It is a glimpse into the soul of old Japan. Among Kyoto's many sacred places, few are as instantly recognizable as Fushimi Inari. Its thousands of bright red torii gates climb through the forest, creating a winding path that seems to disappear into the mountains. Each gate represents a donation to the shrine, and together they form one of the most remarkable sights in Japan. But Fushimi Inari is more than a beautiful place for photographs. It is a Shinto shrine dedicated to Inari, a deity traditionally associated with rice, prosperity, and business. As you walk beneath the endless gates, the sounds of the city gradually disappear. The path becomes quieter, the trees become denser, and the atmosphere begins to feel almost timeless. Fushimi Inari is just one example of the thousands of shrines found throughout Japan. Some stand beside busy streets. Others are hidden deep within forests or high in the mountains. Many are marked by the iconic torii gate, symbolizing the entrance into sacred space. People come to these places to pray, make offerings, celebrate festivals, or simply find a moment of peace. And this connection between everyday life and spirituality is deeply woven into Japanese culture. In Japan, sacred spaces don't always feel distant from the world. They exist within it, quietly reminding people of a tradition that has continued for generations. Just beyond the historic streets of Kyoto lies a place where nature takes center stage, Arashiyama. Famous for its towering bamboo forest, Arashiyama offers a completely different experience from the busy streets of Japan's major cities. Tall bamboo rises on both sides of the pathway, their green stems stretching high above the ground. As the wind moves through the forest, the bamboo sways gently overhead, creating a natural rhythm of light, shadow, and sound. But Arashiyama is more than its famous bamboo. The surrounding mountains, rivers, temples, and gardens create a landscape where nature and architecture seem to blend together. This connection with nature can also be seen in Japan's traditional gardens. Japanese gardens are designed around simplicity, balance, and harmony. A pond can reflect the surrounding trees. A carefully placed stone can represent a mountain. A winding pathway can reveal a new view with every step. Nothing needs to be overwhelming. Instead, beauty is often found in the smallest details: a ripple across the water, the shape of a tree, the sound of wind through the leaves. And that may be the greatest lesson of places like Arashiyama. Japan doesn't always try to make nature more spectacular. Sometimes it simply creates a space where you can stop, look around, and appreciate it. Then comes spring, and Japan begins to change. Across cities, parks, riversides, and ancient temple grounds, cherry trees burst into bloom, covering the landscape in delicate shades of pink and white. The flowers are known as sakura, and for a short time each year, they become one of the most beautiful sights in Japan. People gather beneath the trees with friends and family. Parks become filled with laughter, picnics, and quiet walks. Even ordinary streets can suddenly feel completely transformed. But the beauty of cherry blossoms is not only about their color. It is also about how quickly they disappear. The flowers bloom, reach their peak, and then begin to fall. Their short life has become closely connected with a traditional Japanese appreciation of impermanence, the understanding that beautiful moments are precious, partly because they do not last forever. As the petals drift through the air and cover the ground like snow, the landscape slowly returns to normal. But for those few weeks, Japan feels almost dreamlike. Temples framed by blossoms, Mount Fuji rising behind pink trees, rivers lined with flowering branches, and thousands of people gathering simply to enjoy a moment of beauty. Spring in Japan is not just a season, it is an experience, a reminder to slow down, look around, and appreciate something beautiful while it is still here. Beyond Japan's crowded cities and ancient temples lies another world, a world of towering mountains, deep forests, clear rivers, and quiet villages. The Japanese Alps rise through the heart of the country, creating some of Japan's most spectacular landscapes. Here, the pace of life feels completely different. Mountain roads wind through forests, rivers flow through narrow valleys, and towering peaks rise above the landscape, often disappearing into clouds. In places like the Japanese Alps, nature changes dramatically with the seasons. Summer brings deep green forests and clear mountain streams. Autumn transforms entire valleys into brilliant shades of red, orange, and gold. And when winter arrives, heavy snowfall covers the mountains and villages in white. Some of the most remarkable communities can be found deep within these mountain regions. Traditional wooden houses sit beneath steep roofs designed to withstand heavy snow. One of the most famous examples is Shirakawa-go, a village surrounded by mountains and known for its traditional gashozukuri houses. In winter, snow can cover the rooftops, creating a landscape that looks almost like a painting. But these villages are more than beautiful scenery. They represent a way of life that developed around the mountains, where communities learned to adapt to difficult winters, limited farmland, and the changing seasons. Today, travelers come here to experience a quieter side of Japan. There are no massive skyscrapers, no endless crowds, only mountains, forests, rivers, and small communities surrounded by nature. And perhaps that is what makes the Japanese Alps so special. They reveal a Japan that feels far removed from Tokyo, a Japan where the landscape still sets the rhythm of life. Here, the mountains are not simply scenery, they are part of the story. Not far from Kyoto lies a city where history, nature, and tradition come together in an unforgettable way, Nara. Once the capital of Japan, Nara played an important role in the country's early history. Today, it is best known for its peaceful parks, ancient temples, and hundreds of deer that roam freely through the city. The deer have become one of Nara's most recognizable symbols. They wander along paths, rest beneath trees, and sometimes approach visitors looking for special deer crackers. But these animals are not simply a tourist attraction. For centuries, deer have been regarded as sacred creatures in Nara, particularly around the city's religious sites. And then there is Todaiji Temple, one of Japan's most impressive Buddhist temples. Inside stands the enormous Great Buddha statue, a remarkable work of art and craftsmanship. Standing among the temple's massive wooden structures, surrounded by forests and deer, it is easy to feel the weight of history. Nara offers something different from the energy of Tokyo or the traditional elegance of Kyoto. Here, ancient Japan feels much closer to nature. Deer walk freely beside centuries-old temples, forests surround historic pathways, and everyday life continues alongside monuments that have witnessed generations come and go. It is this unusual combination of wildlife, spirituality, and history that makes Nara one of Japan's most memorable destinations. And then, Japan begins to move. Across the country, sleek trains race through cities, mountains, and countryside with remarkable speed and precision. The Shinkansen, Japan's legendary bullet train. Since its introduction in 1964, the Shinkansen has transformed the way people travel across Japan. From the platform, everything happens in seconds. A distant sound, a sudden rush of air, and the train arrives. Inside, the experience is remarkably calm. Passengers sit quietly as the landscape outside begins to move faster and faster. Cities disappear behind you. Rice fields stretch across the countryside. Mountains rise in the distance, and sometimes, through the window, Mount Fuji appears for just a few moments. What makes the Shinkansen remarkable isn't simply its speed. It represents Japan's extraordinary attention to precision, efficiency, and engineering. The trains connect some of the country's greatest cities, making journeys that once took much longer feel almost effortless. And perhaps that's what the Shinkansen represents best, a country constantly moving forward without losing sight of where it came from. Japan in motion, precise, efficient, and always moving toward the future. If Kyoto represents the quiet elegance of traditional Japan, Osaka is something completely different. Energetic, colorful, and always alive. Known for its food, entertainment, and outgoing atmosphere, Osaka has a personality that is impossible to ignore. And nowhere is that more obvious than Dotonbori. As night falls, enormous signs and glowing advertisements light up the streets. Restaurants fill the sidewalks. Crowds move through the narrow streets, and the smell of Japanese street food fills the air. Osaka is famous for dishes like takoyaki and okonomiyaki, and food is deeply connected to the city's identity. But beyond the neon lights is another side of Osaka. Rising above the city is Osaka Castle, a reminder of the powerful history that shaped this region centuries ago. Today, modern buildings surround the historic castle, creating yet another example of Japan's remarkable contrast between old and new. And perhaps that is what makes Osaka so memorable. It doesn't try to be quiet. It doesn't try to slow down. It embraces energy, food, entertainment, and the people who bring the city to life. From ancient castles to glowing streets, from traditional cuisine to modern skyscrapers, Osaka is a city that celebrates life at full speed. And when the sun goes down, Osaka truly comes alive. To understand Japan, you don't always have to visit a famous landmark. Sometimes you simply have to sit down and eat. Japanese cuisine has become famous around the world. Sushi, ramen, tempura, sashimi, yakitori, and countless regional dishes that tell their own stories. But Japanese food is about more than taste. There is a deep appreciation for freshness, balance, presentation, and seasonality. Even a simple meal can be carefully prepared and beautifully presented. In busy cities, small restaurants and food stalls become part of everyday life. A bowl of steaming ramen on a cold evening, fresh sushi at a local market, or street food shared with friends. These ordinary moments reveal another side of Japan. And everyday life here is often defined by small details. People commuting through crowded train stations, convenience stores glowing late into the night, quiet neighborhood streets in the early morning, and families gathering around a meal. From traditional markets to modern restaurants, food connects generations and regions across the country. Japan's cuisine may have become global, but its deepest meaning can still be found in these simple, everyday moments. Because sometimes, the best way to understand a country is not by looking at its landmarks, but by experiencing how its people live. When winter arrives, Japan transforms once again. In the north, the landscape becomes a world of snow, and nowhere is this transformation more dramatic than Hokkaido. Japan's northernmost major island is famous for its long, snowy winters, wide-open landscapes, frozen lakes, and mountain resorts. Snow falls across forests and villages, covering rooftops, roads, and mountains in brilliant white. In places like Sapporo, winter becomes part of everyday life. The city embraces the cold, with festivals, lights, and enormous displays made entirely from snow and ice. Beyond the cities, Hokkaido offers another kind of beauty. Quiet forests, frozen rivers, snow-covered mountains, and wide landscapes stretching toward the horizon. The island is also famous for its winter wildlife, including the red-crowned cranes that gather across the snowy countryside. For travelers, winter reveals a completely different Japan. Temples and villages become peaceful scenes beneath falling snow. Mountain resorts attract skiers and snowboarders, and warm springs, known as onsen, offer a place to escape the cold. It is a season of contrasts, freezing landscapes outside and warmth and comfort inside. And as snow continues to fall across the northern islands, Japan once again proves that its beauty is never limited to one season. After the snow-covered mountains of northern Japan, the landscape changes completely. Far to the south lies Okinawa, a world of turquoise water, coral reefs, tropical forests, and sun-drenched islands. Made up of hundreds of islands stretching across the southwestern part of Japan, Okinawa feels almost like another country. White sand beaches meet crystal-clear water. Palm trees move gently in the ocean breeze. And beneath the surface, colorful coral reefs create a completely different underwater world. But Okinawa is more than beautiful beaches. The islands have their own distinct culture, traditions, cuisine, and history, shaped by centuries of connection with the wider Pacific and East Asia. Traditional Okinawan houses, stone walls, red-tiled roofs, and colorful festivals reveal a culture that is different from mainland Japan. And then there is the ocean. Fishing, diving, snorkeling, and life along the coast remain an important part of the island's identity. Here, the pace of life feels slower. The crowded streets of Tokyo seem impossibly far away. Instead, there are quiet beaches, small villages, tropical forests, and endless views across the sea. From the snowy landscapes of Hokkaido to the warm waters of Okinawa, Japan stretches across an astonishing range of climates and landscapes. And Okinawa is perhaps the most unexpected reminder that Japan is not just a country of mountains and cities, it is also a tropical paradise. Perhaps the most fascinating thing about Japan is not any single city, mountain, or temple, but the extraordinary contrast between its past and its future. In one moment, you can stand inside a centuries-old temple, surrounded by wooden architecture, gardens, and silence. And only a short journey away, towering skyscrapers, digital screens, robots, and advanced technology create a completely different world. Japan has become one of the world's most technologically advanced societies. Its trains move with remarkable precision. Its cities are filled with sophisticated infrastructure, and technology has become deeply integrated into everyday life. But progress has not erased tradition. Tea ceremonies continue. Traditional festivals fill streets with music and color. People still visit shrines and temples. Kimono are worn during important occasions, and ancient crafts are passed from one generation to the next. Even Japanese architecture reflects this balance. A modern building may stand beside a historic wooden house. A futuristic train may pass through a landscape containing a centuries-old temple. And in the middle of a huge city like Tokyo, a small shrine can provide a quiet escape from the surrounding noise. Perhaps Japan's secret is that it never treated the past and the future as enemies. Instead, it allowed them to evolve together. The result is a country where ancient customs can exist alongside artificial intelligence, where traditional craftsmanship can coexist with advanced engineering, and where history remains visible even as the future arrives. Japan doesn't simply preserve its past, it carries it forward. And perhaps that is why the country feels so unique. Because when you look at Japan, you are not just seeing where humanity has been, you are also getting a glimpse of where it might be going. And so our journey through Japan comes to an end. But perhaps Japan is not a country that can truly be understood through a single journey. It is Mount Fuji rising above the clouds, the quiet paths of Kyoto, the endless torii gates of Fushimi Inari, and the bamboo forests of Arashiyama. It is the energy of Tokyo at night, the streets of Osaka filled with food and lights, and the peaceful deer of Nara walking beneath ancient trees. It is the snow-covered mountains of Hokkaido, the tropical waters of Okinawa, and the countless landscapes that exist between them. But Japan's greatest beauty may not be found in any one of these places. It is found in the way they exist together. Ancient temples beside modern cities, traditional crafts alongside advanced technology, quiet gardens surrounded by millions of people. A country constantly moving forward while still carrying the memories of its past. Perhaps that is why Japan feels different. It doesn't ask you to choose between tradition and progress, between nature and technology, between the old world and the new. Instead, it shows that all of them can exist together. And maybe that is the lesson Japan leaves with every traveler. That beauty isn't always about something being untouched. Sometimes it is about how change and tradition learn to live by side. From the mountains to the ocean, from ancient temples to futuristic cities, Japan is not simply a destination, it is a journey through contrasts. A place where every season reveals something new, and where every road seems to lead to another story. This is Japan, a country of many worlds and a place that stays with you long after the journey ends.